If you're like me, you define clutch as finding a way to win close games in the final moments. The Clippers have been in that situation 8 times, but have won only 5. Not horrible, but we kind of expect them to be better. And they are really out of excuses as to why they're not. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to The Fumble. I'm your host, Jackie Ray. Make sure you take a second and hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss any new content. And then head on over to Instagram and Twitter and follow me at JRayTheFanatic. Now, for the record, I really don't care what the Clippers do. I don't care how far they go. They will always be the Lakers' little brother. And whose fault is that? All jokes aside, you remember the narrative last season. Clippers were considered this powerhouse with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Lou Williams and Trez are one of the league's best pick-and-roll duos. Well, at least they were, until they blow a 3-1 lead to Denver, and then it's Paul George was having issues. Doc Rivers was the coach who had lost a 3-1 lead 3 different times. And then, of course, the Trez is toxic in the locker room. And now, here we are. Doc is gone, Trez is gone, Paul George is playing well, so what is the excuse now? Why is it that in clutch games, Kawhi Leonard is 7 for 25 from field goal range and 0 for 6 from beyond the arc? I'm not throwing shade here, people. I'm just saying. You remember the game against the Milwaukee Bucks. It was the exact opposite of how the Clippers need to operate in the clutch, and exactly how they lost the game against Denver. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George took every single shot in the final 4 minutes of the game, and they missed all of them. But look at all that has happened since then. One of the biggest complaints from Kawhi's teammates is that he's often late to practice and the airport because he has to travel from San Diego. For those of you who do not live in LA, let me tell you that is horrible and it's an unpredictable drive. GPS will tell you it'll be about 2 to 3 hours, and then 5 hours later you finally get to where you're going, and that's with pandemic traffic. So you can imagine how much worse it will be when the world is right. But that is no longer an issue. Technically, it should have never been an issue because in addition to his $13 million San Diego home, Kawhi Leonard also owns a $6.7 million penthouse at the Ritz-Carlton, which is right next to the Staples Center. He could have literally tripped into practice, but still no shade. I know all the work and money that has gone into downtown, but let's not kid ourselves here, people. You're still right next door to Skid Row. And when you have a family that includes 2 children, maybe this isn't exactly where you want to live. Maybe you want to live in the Pacific Palisades, which is much closer than San Diego, in a home that is 12,000 square feet, has a 10-person movie theater, and 960-bottle wine cellar. That seems like problem solved to me. Now we know there are no excuses left. And even though none of us ever want to see an injury that jeopardizes a player's return and a team's chances of winning, the Clippers have to capitalize on the fact that the Lakers are without AD and LeBron James. LeBron James sustained a high ankle sprain in the game against the Atlanta Hawks and was ruled out indefinitely. Immediately after that, the Lakers, who I have said time and time again, need a 100% healthy LeBron and a 100% healthy AD to make a real run for another championship, they went on a 3-game losing streak. The Clippers went on a 3-game win streak and moved up and took over the number 3 spot in the West. All the pressure is on the Clippers. You have a 2-time NBA champ and a 2-time Finals MVP in Kawhi Leonard. Don't think we have forgotten about all the billboards the Clippers put up around LA last year claiming that this was their city. This is your prove it year. All the excuses have been handled and there's nothing left to blame. Kawhi demanded Paul George, you got him. You asked the Clippers to create the team you wanted them to create, and they did. You promised a championship. This all falls on Kawhi. The Clippers have never in their history been to a conference final, and their biggest obstacle, the Lakers, have fallen apart, at least for the moment. You have an opportunity to capitalize. Yes, the Utah Jazz has the best record in the West. So what? You didn't build this team to beat the Jazz. You built it to beat LeBron and the Lakers, and that resulted in you not being able to beat the Denver Nuggets. All the pressure and all the eyes are on the Los Angeles Clippers, and they should be. And if they fail, you have to look directly at Kawhi Leonard. He is the leader of that team. Whether it's his personality that needs to step up or he needs to be more vocal, obviously he leads by example, but this is your position. You either step up and lead that team completely, or I hate to break this to you, Clipper fans, you move on. I don't care if Kawhi purchased 3 more multi-million-dollar homes. If he doesn't win it all this year, you have to wonder if he will move on. He left the Spurs, he left Toronto, which is still a little crazy to me because he had the best opportunity to keep the momentum going there, but he left. Instead, they did all this grandstanding in Los Angeles that has amounted to exactly nothing. So I don't want to hear a single excuse. I'm in no way pulling for the Clippers, let me say that now. But this is clearly your time. If you don't get it now, then you have to go back to being the silent, quiet little brother that we pat on the head every now and then when you do something a little bit impressive. I'm sorry. I'm throwing shade, but I do know some of you are Clippers fans out there, so I want to know. If you don't win the championship this season, do you have an excuse ready, or do you agree with me? There are no excuses left. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Once again, I'm Jackie Ray. Thanks for watching The Fumble, and we'll see you next time.